What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of interAXEtion. And on this episode of interAXEtion, we're going to talk about time signatures, Slayer, audio interfaces, and more modes. I know I ask a lot of questions. If I want to write progressive metal songs using a lot of odd time signatures, kind of like Blotted Science or Dream Theater, how do I decide which time signature to use? Should I just master a lot of time signatures and then it'll be second nature? It seems kind of hard to figure out. That's a really good question, and I can only speak to how I did it, right? So during my early years of playing, I did play a lot of Dream Theater, and of course they use a lot of odd time signatures, and they used to fill the measure. So if it was a measure of 5/8 or 7/8 or 9/8, they usually tend to play all of those eighth notes, right? So that means you get riffs that are just going, say for instance 5/8, you're gonna go and you would accent it either 3 and 2 or 2 and 3, right? Or so I would just pick one, right? And just sing it in my head, and get the rhythm in my head, and then I would pick up the guitar and put the notes to what I was playing in my head. And then once you feel comfortable with that, you can do that for, say, a string of measures. Right? So you take 4, maybe you're going to go 6/5, 6/7, or 6/5, 6/6, anything like that, and then get that feel in your head. So let's, for example, let's do that 6/5, 6/5, right? So we go so that's what I would feel in my head, and then I'd walk around my house or my apartment, and I would get that feel going, and then I would start thinking about how I wanted to get, to express that kind of riff and that rhythm, and then I would put it to use and write something. I would add notes to it. And then once you get comfortable with that, then you can start tying notes, tying over bar lines, and giving it more of an offbeat feel. Hope that helps. What type of audio interface or recording software would you advise someone to use as a guitar player that has never done home recording? It's a great question, and an audio interface is probably the very first piece of gear you need to get, because a lot of times we can just plug our guitar into it and use some plugins, Easy Mix or Bias or anything like that, and you get some pretty good tones for demos and even practicing. I would probably look at like the Focusrite Scarlett stuff. You get a little two input. They got mic pre's, everything you need to record your guitar at home, or if you want to hook up another mic, a vocal mic, to do that as well. And they're pretty cheap, a couple $100 if that, and they sound great. So I would look for something like that. What's your opinion of Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman's playing styles? Well, I guess I should preference this that, again, back in my early days of playing guitar, I loved Slayer. And I probably wouldn't be the rhythm player I am today without learning all of those Slayer riffs, because they did a great job. First of all, Slayer, even like Metallica and those thrash metal bands from that time, I mean, it's metal 101. Right? It's chugging on your low open string, and you're playing power chords all over the place. I mean, that is metal 101, and then it has evolved a little bit since then. So to me, that's like the foundation of metal. And when it comes to rhythm playing, like I said, it really brought my right hand and my picking up to par and beyond. Right? And, I think John Petrucci even said, Slayer, if it wasn't for Slayer, my rhythm playing would never be where it was, and I can only agree with the great John Petrucci. As far as their lead playing styles, I always preferenced Hanneman's leads over Kerry King's leads, for no particular reason. I just seem to like the sound of them. I never really learned a lot of the Slayer solos because, it was just a lot of just go. A lot of thrash, a lot of shred, a lot of tapping, just crazy sound, and it just fit their music so well, but I never really wanted to learn any of those soloing styles. Not that there's anything wrong with them, I just never really wanted to. So that's my opinion about Slayer style. Great metal band, classic thrash band, and I always liked Hanneman's lead playing better, but their rhythm playing, I wouldn't be the rhythm player I am today without those riffs. Awesome. When it comes to learning modes, I know I have 3 major modes and 3 minor modes and 1 diminished modes for a total of 7. I know all the scales come from the same key. It still feels like I'm not getting anywhere with the required time, and is to internalize the sounds so I can hear what I'm working on. What are the most popular, maybe 2 or 3 major modes and minor modes, so I can just study them and move on? Or should I do 1 major mode and 1 minor mode and really get them under my fingers? Thanks, Greg. So yes, when it comes to learning modes, I would pick one and play with it. Right? Learn the sound of it, learn the chord that mode emphasizes or outlines, and that should really help. You could start with the pentatonic minor. I like doing this because the pentatonic minor is going to give you a nice framework for a minor sound, and to me a very Dorian kind of sound. And if you ask about what's a popular mode, Dorian is an extremely popular mode, especially if you go into styles outside of, say, rock and metal. If you delve into the jazz world at all, you should know your Dorian scale. But you might not, if you're unfamiliar with modes, you might not even go that far with it. You might want to just take your basic minor pentatonic and then add the second or the ninth, right? Add that note into it and work it in and learn how that note sounds over the minor pentatonic. And then you can do the same thing with the sixth or the 13th, right? Both the flat sixth and the major sixth, right? So you need to get, again, that major sixth is going to give you the Dorian sound. The flat sixth is going to give you a very minor sound. So you can emphasize, you can start playing licks with your pentatonics and just add that specific note. And that'll really help give you, internalize the tone or the sound of the emotion of that specific note, which basically is the sound of that specific mode, right? Like you can take a dominant arpeggio, a dominant 7 arpeggio, and add the flat 9 to it. That's the first alteration you should go for, right? Learn how to work that note in. And again, you just internalize that sound. Okay, so that's what it helps for me. Hopefully that helps for you. If any of you other guys have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below, and we'll touch on some of that stuff further. So thanks a lot for all your great questions. As always, let me know what you come up with, and until then, I will see you next time. Thanks a lot.